he's recreating New York City, and at one point he needed a taxi. So, we made that happen for him, because in New York, there's a law that taxis have to be replaced after every 3 years or something like that, or there's a certain protocol for inspection and retirement of taxi cabs. So, you can pick them up pretty cheaply once their natural lives as taxi cabs have elapsed, and so we helped them do that. And we were always sending something over to the West Side, and he hired somebody in New York just to supervise that exercise. And I remember there was a guy in New York, part of the staff, who just film buff, just loved Stanley's work and knew a lot about him, and that's how it was for a lot of us. It was it's the great Stanley Kubrick, but we knew him. We talked to him, and so he needed some of these sidewalk newspaper boxes, the New York Times, the New York Daily News, the New York Post, for a shot or a few shots of his recreation of New York City. And so I think I called the Times, I called the Post, I called the News, and one of them was not that the Times agreed to send me one of the boxes. The Times agreed. I think the Post agreed. I think it was the New York Daily News who said, no, we're not going to do that. In the meantime, I had worked out with a reporter friend of mine at the New York Post, a crime reporter, to write a story. This is another request that Stanley had. He wrote the story that appears in one particular scene where Tom Cruise is reading the Post. It's his byline. And he wrote the story.
Found dead.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was a friend of mine who was a crime reporter at the time of the New York Post, and I asked him if he would care to get involved. Of course he did. And so there was so we had a cooperative relationship with the New York Post and with the New York Times on this thing, but not the Daily News. Well, one day I see one of my younger colleagues walk in the door with a hand truck, and on that hand truck is a Daily News box, a New York Daily News street dispenser, and sitting on top of the box is a giant pair of bolt cutters. And so that's an example of the dedication that we had to getting Stanley what he wanted.